Camp 1, Jim Davidson is fearful the earthquake has triggered avalanches from the surrounding peaks.
All we could see was white clouds about 50 feet away from us, and that made it worse. You don't know which way to run.
Almost 10,000 feet tall, Mount St. Helens is one of several active volcanoes in Washington's Cascades mountain range. By 1980, it hasn't erupted for over a century. But beneath its serene exterior, Mount St. Helens is beginning to stir. On March 27th, red-hot magma from deep within the volcano rises high enough to come into contact with icy meltwater.
No matter where you are on Earth, there's, beneath you somewhere, there's water. So if something hot comes up into that water, it heats it up. It can build up enough pressure that it finally just breaks through as an explosion, like a pressure cooker, just letting loose.
Most scientists expect that if the mountain does blow, it will be in a classic vertical eruption, affecting only a limited area close to the volcano. But the mountain could explode sideways in a lethal lateral eruption, devastating a much larger area. At 8:32 a.m. on May 18th, 1980, they get their answer.
We are directly above Mount St. Helens now, and there is no question that the volcanic activity has started. Smoke.
A massive earthquake causes the huge bulge on the mountain to collapse, removing a mile-wide chunk of the north face. With an energy equivalent to 1,500 Hiroshima atom bombs, rock and superheated gas shoot from the volcano at terrifying speeds of up to 400 miles per hour. Such is the force of Mount St. Helens' lateral eruption that an incredible 1,300 feet of mountain disappears almost instantly. Now the eruption enters its next phase. Expanding magma inside the volcano sends thousands of tons of scorching rock and gas high into the atmosphere. A dense plume of ash stretches 15 miles high. The choking ash fills the air outside, turning the sky dark. Breathing becomes almost impossible. In the minutes after the eruption, 46 billion gallons of icy meltwater start to pour down the mountainside, gathering rock and debris to create a lethal slurry called a lahar. The deadly lahar becomes a massive tsunami of destruction. Scientists scramble into the air to get an overview of the unfolding disaster.
I was awed by what I was seeing. We could see this tremendous eruption column and all the energy that there must be in it.
Navigation is almost impossible. The ground below now bears no resemblance to any of their maps.
There were lots of fires burning. Within the cloud, there were mixtures of ash and rocks, boulder rocks from the volcano, and a lot of steam from melting glacial ice.
Mount St. Helens continues to erupt until late in the afternoon. Ashfall forced towns and cities up to 300 miles away into a state of emergency shutdown. In just over 2 weeks, the ash circled the entire globe. Officially the deadliest, most destructive volcanic eruption in U.S. history, the eruption ultimately claimed 57 lives. Keith Ronholm has come to witness the volcano, but without official permission.
Keith Ronholm was a graduate student at the University of Washington, a student of geophysics. So he's just kind of inherently interested in Mount St. Helens waking up.
Ronholm has bluffed his way past the roadblocks and parked at Bear Meadow. He is waiting to see what the sleeping giant has in store. On May 18th, at the moment of eruption, Keith Ronholm is quietly reading in his truck.
He gets out, he's in his underwear. Oh, he sees this landslide, so where's my camera? He gets the cameras and shoots, and then notices it's getting kind of closer.
Keith captures these incredible images of the massive blast cloud racing towards him.
He gradually gets one pant leg on and takes another photograph. Puts the other pant leg on, takes a photograph. Oh, here's my keys. And so he's doing all this while he's shooting.
At the last possible moment, Keith decides to run. The young student is now in a desperate race for survival. Keith's final photograph shows a huge wave of ash closing in fast. Keith Ronholm's pickup truck is engulfed by the cloud of ash that follows. Alone in the dark, eerie silence, Keith has time to wonder if this is the end. San Francisco, October 17th, 1989. 70 miles south of San Francisco, the Santa Cruz Range sits directly above California's notorious San Andreas Fault. Scientists in San Francisco are predicting that the next big quake is just around the corner.
People were told a big earthquake was coming. They got some kind of warning, and it was the best we could do at the time.
At 5:04 p.m., the earthquake hits. Within seconds, the earthquake's deadly tremors are spreading northwards along the San Andreas Fault toward the San Francisco Bay Area and the city of Oakland.
I was working at the Oakland Tribune, and just after 5 o'clock, the whole building shook. There was a big jolt, and then it started swaying like it was a ship on a rough sea.
Inside shops and businesses, terrified customers cling on for dear life. But others are in even greater danger. The Cypress Freeway is a 1.6-mile-long, two-tier expressway linking Oakland with nearby San Francisco. As the devastating earthquake hits, the entire structure gives way.
Freeway has come down. Yeah, they have people trapped on Cypress. I want you to respond to Cypress.
It was hellish. It was flames coming out of the cement, screams, people rushing around trying to get into the wreckage, the emergency crews showing up and looking stunned, because none of us had really seen anything like that before.
Seconds after flattening the Cypress Freeway, the deadly shock waves continue northwest towards the city's Marina district. Marina resident Dr. Steve Bradasani witnesses the quake at close range.
All of a sudden, I saw this wave, and it was like surfing, but with concrete and cars. So it's like if you take a carpet to go clean the carpet, and you want to get the dust off, that's what it looked like.
20 seconds later, and the deadly earthquake abruptly ends, leaving much of the Marina district in ruins. But collapsed buildings aren't the only danger. The quake also ruptures multiple gas mains that soon ignite, setting off dozens of fires. Firefighter Jerry Shannon and his crew are dispatched to Marina.
I was driving the truck, and as we crested the hill, you could see this mushroom cloud. I mean, it looked like somebody dropped an atom bomb in Marina, because all the broken gas mains, the gas ignited and eventually exploded. As soon as we pulled up, you could smell the gas. It was out in the streets.
To make matters even worse, many water mains have also burst, leaving Jerry and other firefighters with no means of putting the fires out. The city's fireboat, the Phoenix, is called for and makes its way towards the Marina. A human chain is formed to carry the heavy hose the 3 blocks from the fireboat to the corner of Divisadero and Beach.
They had to carry the hoses off the trucks to the water and get the hoses on the fire truck and connect them so that they could pump seawater to stop the fire. Because if they didn't have that, the Marina would have burned.
The San Francisco earthquake claimed a total of 63 lives. Throughout the night of October 17th, many people walked a narrow line between life and death. The Cypress Freeway is a 1.6-mile-long two-tier expressway linking Oakland with nearby San Francisco. On the lower deck, rookie firefighter Tim Peterson is driving back to his station house when suddenly, and without warning, the earthquake hits.
The Cypress structure has collapsed. 35238, we have a major injury accident, Cypress and West Grand.
The entire structure gives way, collapsing right on top of Tim Peterson's truck. Oakland Fire Chief Mark Hoffman is one of the first rescuers at the scene.
It was surreal. It was just the scope of it. It was hand of God type of stuff.
Between 17th Street, as far as I can see, going towards 32nd. So we're going to need some trucks down here as soon as you can get them.
We were right at the very first section that had dropped. Cars that were there were toast. They were completely compressed. Nobody could survive it.
Tim's dad, also a firefighter, is told by the station that they have been unable to contact his son.
It was a total sick feeling. The whole thing was just overwhelming. Why him? He's such a great kid. Why would that have to happen to him?
Meanwhile, firefighter Andy Papp and his crew have been detailed to search what's left of Cypress for survivors.
When I first got there, I couldn't believe it, that the whole top section was down. By the time we got there, there was just chaos, people running around, screaming.
As Andy starts sifting through the rubble, he gets an urgent tap on the shoulder.
Somebody came up to us and told us, hey, there's still a guy alive right around the corner in the car. I said, okay. So I asked the chief, can we go up there and take him out? He said, hey, this thing is coming down. I said, well, we still got to go in there.
Despite the enormous risk of aftershocks and further collapse, Andy and a colleague crawl into the wreckage. There, they discover a badly damaged pickup with a figure slumped inside. It's Tim, somehow still alive despite hundreds of tons of crushing concrete. But Tim's situation is critical. Tim is slumped over in the front seat, drifting in and out of consciousness. Inside what remains of the Cypress Freeway, the struggle between life and death continues. Oklahoma City, 1999, storm season. Monitoring the weather that day inside a mobile radar lab called a Doppler on Wheels is storm scientist Josh Werman.
Please go ahead 5 miles and deploy. Go 5 miles as quickly as you can.
At around 4 p.m., Josh's team begin following what will soon become one of the most notorious storms in American history. Storm A is a special kind of thunderstorm called a supercell, a powerful weather system with deep rotating updrafts producing winds of well over 100 miles an hour. 4:51 p.m., just 80 miles southwest of Oklahoma City, Storm A spawns its first tornado, later named A1. This is the first of Storm A's 14 twisters. Tornado A1 has come and gone, along with 6 more relatively minor twisters. Then, at 6:14 p.m., the storm's 8th tornado rips into Chickasha Municipal Airport.
I'm just north of Chickasha on the interstate. What a storm!
Classified as an F2 on the Fujitsu scale, the measure of a tornado's destructive power, A8's internal wind speeds reach over 100 miles an hour. But A8 is a mere baby compared to what's about to come. At 6:23 p.m., twister number 9 touches down. It's a mile wide, and immediately it starts heading toward Bridge Creek.
We could see just how alarmingly high the winds were on one side of that tornado, and there were a lot of radar measurements that were over 300 miles an hour, some substantially over 300 miles an hour.
By 6:57 p.m., A9 officially becomes the world's most powerful tornado ever. In Bridge Creek, the mile-wide vortex has left more than 200 homes completely destroyed. At 7 p.m., the twister has become so powerful, the National Weather Service issues an unprecedented warning.
Tornado emergency in South Oklahoma City metro area. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation.
We've never seen them use this wording before. This is a big deal, folks. You need to act. You need to find a safe place to take shelter.
Still gaining strength, the massive twister continues northeast toward the much larger town of Moore.
As we drove through Moore, we went through where the worst devastation was. Parts of it were just completely wiped out. One of my team saw a body on the side of the highway.
Tornado A9 has by now ripped a 30-mile path through businesses and homes. Luckily for Oklahoma City, the tornado starts to die out before it can do any more damage.
It missed the downtown area of Oklahoma City, and if you plot this, it looks like a gash on the metropolitan map, starting from the southwest, going through Moore, and then curving up through Del City and Midwest City.
The mile-wide twister rips through 38 miles of urban landscape, destroys more than 4,000 homes, and claims 36 lives. 30 miles southwest of Oklahoma City lies the small community of Bridge Creek, population 1,500.
Bridge Creek really is a school district with a collection of mobile homes at the time.
48-year-old Marcia Irwin lives in Bridge Creek with her 3 children and her husband, Chad. The Irwins' home is typical of most in Bridge Creek.
It was a pre-manufactured home, and that's the worst place you can be. You don't want to be in a mobile home during a tornado.
At 6:23 p.m., twister number 9 touches down. It's a mile wide, and immediately it starts heading toward Bridge Creek.
It's a bad feeling I have sometimes when I'm in the Doppler truck and I'm plotting the course of something that I know is bad. I'm getting measurements of it. I know how bad it is. And it's heading towards a town, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Traveling at 50 miles an hour, Tornado A9 is just about to hit Bridge Creek when Marcia Irwin sees her husband step outside.
Walked out, started hailing, and I went out and I was trying to put carpet scraps on the windshields of the cars to try to protect the windshields.
But when he looks up, he soon forgets about saving his car.
When they hear a tornado, they always think it's going to be the cone shape. Well, this was just a big black curtain. I mean, it was just solid blackness.
Chad looks up to see a massive wall of black clouds bearing down on them.
You know how your hair rises up on the back of your neck when you're scared? I knew that we needed to do something or we wouldn't be here afterwards.
Ignoring the official warnings to stay inside, Chad is convinced his family's only hope of survival is to head for a nearby tin horn.
A tin horn is a corrugated pipe that goes underneath the road. They carry the water from the pond to the creek.
Running for their lives, Marcia Irwin and her family make it to the drainage pipe just before the tornado hits.
The only safety plan we had was a tin horn, that was it.
By 6:55 p.m., A9 is being classified as an F5 tornado, the most destructive tornado there is. Marcia is terrified the pipe is too short to prevent them from being sucked out. Or worse, impaled by flying debris.
There was something that caught on the end of the tin horn, and it was banging. There was a lot of screaming. I mean, it's nerve-wracking, because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Here's the thing about a 300-mile-per-hour tornado. There's no way you can hang on to your child in that kind of powerful storm.
Marcia clings to her children, terrified they will be shredded by flying debris or pulled to certain death. Then, just as the ferocious winds reach their peak, everything goes black.
Holly and Axel are in the valley below, a short distance from Langtang village.
I remember seeing the leaves
of the trees shaking. I didn't know what it was. And then the earth moved. And for a second, I thought, oh, cool, it's an earthquake. First time in my life I experienced an earthquake. We were probably in the worst place you want to be for an earthquake, because we were at the bottom of a steep valley. Then I realized something was coming towards us from the side of the mountains.
Holly and Axel, captured here in this footage, hide behind a tree for protection.
There was a loud roaring, very deep sort of sound. I looked back up the valley towards Langtang, the village itself, and could see a big cloud approaching, filled the whole of the valley. I remember the noise of my waterproof being sort of spattered with sleet in amongst this, the roar of wind. It then went dark.
I couldn't see my hands, I couldn't see Holly, and I had no idea where I was, what happened, because I saw maybe we're under the snow, that's it. It's the end. I was terrified. I remember grabbing Holly's shoulders, and I hold the trees with both hands, and you were here. And I told you I loved you, and we just waited.
On Everest, Jim Davidson and his friend Bart are resting in their tent.
All of a sudden, we heard a rumbling. Instead of fading away, it started getting louder, and it started getting sharper. When I heard that noise, I knew that we were in some sort of special bad situation. I looked at Bart and I said, "This is really bad."
I feel this tremble underneath. And the tent shifts on the ice. I hear like a big crack underneath the ice, as if the ice is splitting underneath our tent. The reaction was like, let's get out, run out, right now.
I shot out of the tent. I was in my long johns and in a t-shirt. That moment I see it.
At Camp 1, Jim Davidson is fearful the earthquake has triggered avalanches from the surrounding peaks.
All we could see was white clouds about 50 feet away from us, and that made it worse. It was like stepping out onto a highway in a fog bank and hearing trucks roaring at you from several directions, but you don't know which way to run.
In Tianjin Gumpa, Kat Heldman and her team feel the earth shaking and rush outside their tea house.
We were just standing outside, kind of looking at each other, kind of shell-shocked, and at some point I realized that Brigida was not with us. She was at the top of the stairs. She was scared to come down because the stairs were crumbling.
Come out! Come out! Oh, honey. Okay, come on.
I didn't even think. I just ran in. My adrenaline was racing. Everyone's adrenaline was like intense, I'm sure. And then somebody looked up at the mountain, and I think it was Kevin, and he said, "Look, look, look, look," and somebody yelled, "Avalanche."
Look, 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 look.
John Burke at the National Weather Service office at the airport. Apparently the tornado activity over there at this time.
I was a little confused. What do you
John
mean?
was telling me before we got on that he was going to have to get out of there quick.
Oh, I see.
And apparently he got out of there quicker than he wanted to.
It's 4:40. Bob Johnson has joined us. Bob?
Jeff, the city police say that a tornado is moving across the southern part of the city. They say that it has touched down near the fairgrounds and apparently damaged Freedom Hall. People in the Louisville area should take cover.
Okay, and on that, our lights in here begin to blink. I've got John Burke of the Weather Service on the line here, and we'll just make the right connections and we'll be...
All right, yes, John.
Yeah, that storm, we could watch it come right in on the airport here, Glenn. There was no funnel in it until it actually got right to the airport. Then a funnel developed right in the parking lot north of the terminal building and moved on to the east. And it's moving eastward 45 to 50 miles per hour.
Let's see if we can contact our traffic tracker, Dick Gilbert, in Skywatch 84 for a report. Dick?
Yes.
Okay, can you fill us in anything more on what you can see from your vantage point?
Well, it's a spectacular sight, the low clouds. At the moment, they're just about over Bowman Field out at the Taylorsville Road area, and it is swirling around. There is no real tight, definitive tornado as such. It's still turning in a large... Yes, there's one now. It's probably along Bardstown Road and somewhere near Eastern Parkway is where I guess that one is. But it is definitely moving up toward the Crescent Hill water tank now, and I'm starting to get some strong, very strong gusts. Be very, very careful. Dick Gilbert, Skywatch 84.
If Dick Gilbert can hear us in Skywatch 84, let's go up there right now for a report from his vantage point.
This tornado touched down right here at the horse barns on the North-South Expressway, and it has turned over several cars. Now the wind damage hit the roof of Freedom Hall, and it tore 3 big holes in the roof.
This is Chuck Paddock. Can you see the storm at this time from your viewpoint?
No longer, Chuck.
A tornado warning is in effect for Limestone and Morgan County until 7 o'clock this evening, but we are keeping our line open to the Civil Defense Office. Stay tuned to WJMW. At 22 minutes before 7 o'clock, here's Spencer Black of the Civil Defense.
Mike, this thing is spotted and it's coming up the Tennessee River and possibly now will cross somewhere around the Tennessee River Bridge. So it evidently is moving up the south end of what we'd call our county. So the people in the area needs to be alert and take some type of cover.
Okie dokie, here's Spencer Black, Civil Defense Department.
Mike?
Yeah. Yes, Spencer.
Mike?
Yeah.
Put everybody on I'd say the south, on this side of the river, around Tanner and Ripley area and everything, to get anywhere they possibly can, because the hook is down within the river around the Brownsville area now.
Okay.
I can't hear you, and so we just, maybe the people are listening, so just tell the people around that area, Tanner area, Clemens area, Ripley area, and whatever, they just got to take cover.
Bobby Ray out here near East Limestone School, the tornado between 72 Highway and Nick Davis Highway moving east, going towards East Limestone School.
All right, now once again repeat that part.
It's between Nick Davis Highway and 72 Highway, moving east. I gotta go, bye.
Okay.
Civil Defense Office?
Yes, ma'am.
We have reports that the tornado has just leveled Lawson's Trailer Park.
Yes, ma'am.
And would you please put an announcement that anybody that can help to go out there? It's out here at Reed's Mills right now.
Can you
you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah, the clouds are forming up. They're just starting to gather.
It's not on the ground yet.
It's not on the ground yet, but the clouds are starting to circle. And there's a bunch of clouds just gathering together. And you can tell the winds are high because the clouds just start to swirl. This one here's forming between 72 and Reed down here at Browns Ferry.
Now listen, folks, if you are taking this thing lightly, let me tell you something. In all my life, I have never seen nothing like this. I'm sitting here behind this microphone, my teeth chattering, scared half to death. And this is an emergency. This is a disaster. We have never had nothing like this in my lifetime in Limestone County, Alabama. You folks take cover.